Good morning, everybody. Still cockeyed on my kid. I sit down and I end up not in the same spot. Okay. Same familiar scene behind me. I will be moving at the end of the month. I'm going to another park for a couple of weeks, and then I will be back again. Moving's not easy, but I will try to figure out how to do a video over the course of that. I've also found out that my last day of filming on my current project is the 24th. So I will have to shave this off. I was hoping I'd get a start on my beard, but I'm going to have to shave it off for that. And then after that, I will try to grow the beard back out. And after that, I will try to get my image back that I need to work with. And yeah, you'd be surprised when you see it. And some will say you don't need to do that. I don't need to do it for this broadcast, but I need to do it to find work. I don't find work all the time, but I need to be able to look good for the work when I can get it. Because I want to be able to select the choices. If I limit myself to an old man, then I'm only going to get audience groups. If I fix myself up better instead of limiting myself, I can get more choice parts. Anyhow, ask any actor. Your appearance is key. You got to be able to act, but your appearance has got to be what they want, because that's the first thing they see before you get to act. All right. This is going to be a little bit shorter video because I'm only going to cover chapter 16 of Revelation. We already know about this. We've already heard about it again. We've studied all the chapters before this, and they've talked about all this stuff, and now we're going to see it coming forth now, and it's explained in a little bit more detail. We're going to see the wrath of God. Now, this is the final worldwide destruction. After this, we got 3 chapters going after the harlot and the beast. And then we can get into 21, all things made new. But we got to get through this chapter. This is the big one. We've seen destruction up to this point. And up to this point, it's been basically man-made destruction. Everything that man has done has caused the things that we're seeing. But this is the wrath of God. This is the angels pouring out their wrath on the earth, triggered by the abomination of desolation, the defiling of the temple that the Antichrist will do. At which point the Jews will realize they made a mistake, that they saw the Antichrist and thought he was the Messiah. The Muslims, same way. They're going to see this guy and they're going to think he's the Messiah. Come back to help them. Everybody thinks he's coming back for them. So that's why the Antichrist will bring peace. Short-lived, but quote unquote. In order for him to bring peace, there has to be non-peace, right? You've got to be in the middle of war. Israel is going into Rafah, big time now, ignoring the United States' threat to cut off arms, to stop supporting Israel. If you live in America, I would be frightened of what's going to come. God doesn't take kindly to those that go against Israel. We can go back to Genesis. If you support Israel, God supports you. If you're against Israel, God is against you. So it's a big deal. Israel just celebrated their Independence Day, 76 years, I think it is. We're still in that 70 to 80 time frame. I don't like the first number because I just turned 70. So we got to go to the second number. We can live to be 80 if we're smart and healthy and beyond. We have so many people that have lived into their 90s and hundreds now, all because of medicine, things like that, that have been able to do that. Anti-Semitism is on the rise, big time, being led by these rich billionaires who are atheists and hate the Jews. One of them being the founder of the World Economic Forum. And I'm going to mispronounce his name on purpose again so that I don't get into trouble. Charles Schwab. You should know who that means. It sounds like that. He is a Nazi. His father worked for Hitler, manufacturing ammunition. He is a Nazi. He wants all Jews eliminated. He wants to finish what Hitler and his father tried to do. And so he's going to do his part. And one of the other billionaires who's out there helping to support, they're funding these riots. Just like they funded the Something Lives Matter, they're funding the Hamas riots now. Gatherings that turn into riots. And they will get worse. This whole country will be in an upheaval. And it's going to happen this year. The end of the United States is this year. It's not going to survive. There will be people here, don't get me wrong. But the United States should be called the divided states right now. So anyhow, there will be plenty of people that need the wrath of God. And we have a rapture that will get us out of here long before it. Okay, so what can we talk about when we talk about the wrath of God? What are some verses? I'm just going to read these to you. You can turn to them if you want. Romans 1:18. The wrath of God is revealed against all ungodliness and unrighteousness. So there's the scope of it. We've already had, by the time this comes along, we've already had the seals and the trumpets. Pretty much, they're not over, but they're pretty much doing their damage. And the people are not turning to God. They're turning away from Him. They're cursing God. Just the opposite of what they should be doing. So the wrath of God will be for them. Romans 12:17, leave vengeance to God. So whatever they're doing now, don't personally take it on. Leave it to God to deal with. We're fighting a war, a spiritual war, but we're fighting a war against the ruler of this world, Satan. He is the ruler of this world. God's the ruler of the universe, but He's given Satan domain. So you're not going to be able to beat him. Only God could beat him, and that's not yet. That's to come. And He's going to do it. You're not. Nahum, one of the smaller prophets, 1:2. The Lord is a jealous and avenging God. He hates idols. An idol is a replacement of Him. And idols can't do anything. That's one of the things that really makes God mad. Idols can't do anything for you. They're just a piece of material. And yet people worship idols. How can people be so stupid? Their leader is deliberately misleading. He's not stupid. He doesn't believe in idols. But if he can get you to believe in one, then he's won. Romans 2:5. You are storing up wrath for yourself on the day of wrath. This is what the world is doing, storing up wrath for itself. And there will be a day of wrath. The bulls will be dumped out quickly. Ephesians 5:6. The wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. As Christians, we're not immune, but we're not being taught. This is not talking about us. We can have disobedient Christians, and the Spirit of God in you will deal with it individually. This is a worldwide effect that's going on. Psalm 6:1. O Lord, rebuke me not in your anger, nor discipline me in your wrath. They didn't have the Spirit of God back then, so they got lumped together with the rest of the world. Psalm 97. We are brought to an end by your anger. By your wrath we are dismayed. The country of Israel, the Jews, have been scattered a few times in history because of their disobedience. And a lot of these were written during the time of their exile. They were exiled to Babylon. They were exiled for 70 years because they ignored the Shemitah year, which required everything to just stop for that year. They just kept working right through it. Greed. There's a price to pay. Hosea 13:11. I gave you a king in my anger, and I took away in my wrath. I took him away in my wrath. I gave you a king in my anger, and I took him away in my wrath. The people wanted kings because the other countries had kings. God didn't want them to have kings. And then they didn't use it right. They misused it. Isaiah 26:21, I think this will be the last one. For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. The whole world's going to be aware of the wrath of God. So turn with me now, you can turn now, to Revelation 16:1, where we're going to focus on the wrath of God. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, Go ye and pour out the seven bowls of the wrath of God into the earth. Just pour them out. And now we're going to get that description. And when the first went and poured out his bowl on the earth, and it became a noisome and grievous sore upon men that had the mark of the beast, that worshipped the image. You've been warned multiple times here in the Bible not to get the mark of the beast. Now, as rapture contestants, we're going to miss this part. Those left behind who weren't quite ready to accept God and Jesus, they will realize their mistake and accept Him. But now they're stuck here during the time of the Antichrist. Where is my drink? There it is. I don't get any money from them, but I drink their diet because I drink this all day long. If this had sugar in it, I'd rot my teeth. So he's going to go after those that took the mark and worshiped the image, which is the key. You don't get the mark until you worship the Antichrist, or the image of. Which is the problem, not the mark itself, but worshiping the image of the Antichrist. It's that worship part. And it's essentially an idol. God doesn't like that. And the second poured out his bowl into the sea, and it became blood as of a dead man, and every living soul died, even the things that were in the sea. Now, what's causing all this stuff? You have to put all the pieces together. And the third poured out his bowl into the rivers and the fountains of the waters, and they became blood. Everything is based on blood. There's not going to be anything left that you can rely on. And I heard the angel of the waters saying, Righteous art thou who wast thou Holy One, because thou didst, we're reading it in King James, thou didst thus judge. It's Jesus who's the judge of all this. For they poured out the blood of the saints and the prophets, and blood hast thou given them to drink. They are worthy. The world basically has rejected all the prophets of the past, the prophets now, whenever the book of the prophets. They've rejected God, rejected Jesus, so they're going to pay for it. And I heard the altar saying, Yeah, O Lord God, the Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. So they're going to stop and acknowledge. And the fourth poured out his bowl upon the sun, and it was given unto it to scorch men with fire. We're seeing X-class solar flares now, which we haven't seen in 20 years. But that's nothing to what it's capable of doing. It's a nuclear reactor, the sun is. We don't know how to do it. We've tried to. We've come close. But something that big and powerful is something that only God can create. And men were scorched with great heat. They blasphemed the name of God, who has the power over these plagues. They're not turning away from their bad ways. They're yelling at God. How dare you treat us this way? And they repented not to give him glory. That's why it's still going on. This could end at any moment. All these things could end after each one of these situations. After each seal, after each trumpet, after each bowl. It could end. And we could all live happily ever after. But they won't. They won't give in. And the fifth poured out his bowl upon the throne of the beast, and his kingdom was darkened, and they gnawed their tongues for pain. The beast, the Antichrist, the current ruler at this time. And they blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and they repented not of their works. God is sending no one to heaven. These people are willfully going. And the sixth poured out his bowl upon the great river, the river Euphrates, and the water thereof dried up. That the way be made ready for the kings that come from the sun rising. And I saw coming out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, 3 unclean spirits, as it were frogs. Those are the ones causing all the trouble. For they are spirits of demons working signs which go forth unto the kings of the whole world to gather them together unto the war of the great day of God. And in 16, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. We're watching. But we'll be watching from heaven. The rest of the world will be watching. And they gathered them together into the place which is called in Hebrew Har Mageddon. We know it, the valley of Armageddon. 17, and the seventh poured out his bowl upon the air, and there came forth a great voice out of the temple from the throne, saying, It is done. And there were lightnings and voices and thunders, and there was a great earthquake, such was not since the beginning of men on earth. So great an earthquake, so mighty. And the great city was divided into 3 parts. Jerusalem is going to just physically divide. Amazing. There's been earthquakes there forever, from the beginning of time. The Dome of the Rock temple thing has been rebuilt a number of times because it's been destroyed by earthquakes. Hint, hint. And the cities of the nations fell, and Babylon the Great was remembered in the sight of God, to give unto her the cup of wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. It's going to basically level the earth. And great hail, every stone about the weight of a talent, coming down out of heaven. So, good size. These are rocks falling, not hail, not ice. Coming down out of heaven upon men, and men blaspheme God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague there is exceedingly great. So once again, the world turns against God and misuses his name. Well, that's all for the world now. We can now start getting into times where we're seeing the beast punished, Babylon punished. We get through all that, and then we can see a new heaven and new earth. So we're through the worst part right now for the world. People will live through this. There will be a remnant. We will get to the millennium. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.